Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dee Reinhardt with Illinois WorkNet, and today we are going to be talking about the next segment of the Illinois WorkNet Resume Builder tool. And on the line with me today, I have Chelsea Jones. Say hi, Chelsea.
Hi, everyone.
So we'll get started in just a moment. I want to do a few housekeeping things. In the upper right-hand corner, if you need the phone number, I've also copied and pasted that into the chat pod so that when we cover that up, it will be available for you. But our next webinar will be tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And then in the bottom left corner are the files that you might want to download. Now remember that you click on them and click the download button and it will show up in a new window. So please come back to the webinar. And then if you could answer the poll questions. Now we're doing them, we're repeating them, so if you already answered them, sorry, you got to answer them again. And we are talking about the Resume Builder tool. So any questions that are not on topic with the Resume Builder tool, we will ignore those questions. And let's get rolling. So I'm going to pull up my screen and start sharing my screen. All right. So now everybody should be able to see my screen. If you need to make it bigger, Chelsea's typing some directions into the chat pod. I just know she is. And I just made mine a little bit bigger here so that hopefully you can see it a little bit better. What I'm going to do in every webinar, so this is a repeat too, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to get an account and how to access your Resume Builder tool from your account. So you can sign up for an Illinois WorkNet account if you don't already have one. And then if you need to once you're signed up, I guess I should say, all you have to do is log in. So I'm going to log in right now. And then you just click sign in. Oh, goodness. I guess I typed it too fast. So now this takes you to your login screen. Once you're logged in to your Illinois WorkNet account, you get a little bit different ribbon right across the top here. And it will be able to take you directly to messages that you get from Illinois WorkNet, bookmarks that you've saved. The resume tool itself right here, you can go to the skills and interest survey along with checking the menu for all of the different tools. And let me show you right now, if you want to go to qualify for jobs and resume writing guide, you can see all of our suggestions from Illinois WorkNet about how to write a great resume. There's all kinds of articles and examples and help there for you. Now, the important part is if you get to your dashboard, you can access the resumes from here, or you can access it from your profile, which it will take you to your profile in Illinois WorkNet, and all you have to do then is scroll down just a bit once the screen pops up and go to My Tools. Then on the right-hand side, you'll see the box that says Resume Builder. You just click there, and it will redirect you to the Resume Builder tool. And this is a third-party tool that we use. And when you first come here, if you have not already set up your account, it will show a screen where you put in your name and address information, email, all of those demographic information items that need to be on a resume in some cases. And if you're already logged in, all you have to do is click the piece where your name is and click Manage My Account, and it will take you back to that screen. So if you need to change any of that information, you just have to save and continue. Maybe you've changed careers or decided you want to do a different industry. You can change all of that there, save and continue, and then it will take you back to your dashboard. And this is where all the magic happens. So last week we talked about assessments. This morning we talked about resumes. And now what we're going to do is we're going to cover two topics, and hopefully you get enough good information. Now remember that the handouts are in the lower left-hand corner, so if you want those for references for later, you can download those tools. Very much like the resumes, the letters work where you have examples and samples as well. So once you create one, it saves them, and all you have to do is click on the down arrow to show all of the letters or all of the resumes that you've created. So you can see I've got a few samples here. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create a new letter. And much like the resume, you can upload a letter, but you always have to name it. So I'm going to name this as IWN Demo Demonstration. No, I'm going to name it Demo 4. And I'm going to start the letter. Now, again, very similar to the resumes, you can start from scratch, which means it's a blank slate except for your name and address information. You can browse letter types, which are just the different types of letters, so it'll give you a very broad overview. Or you can browse samples. I'm going to use the samples because this is best if you're trying to determine what it is that you want to do. So as we click Continue, it opens up to a new window where you will see different categories. So we've got all samples. There's 45 different sample letters there. We can do a broadcast inquiry. We can do cover notes, follow-up, job fair, job posting, networking, reference, referral, and thank you. What we're going to do right now is we're going to take a look at each of the different items so that you know what it is that we're talking about. So if we want to click on broadcast inquiry, it tells you what the purpose of those letters are right here, and then you can click to read more. So a broadcast letter, in basic terms, it's sending out a letter with your resume to an employer who may or may not be hiring. I suggest this to job seekers on a regular basis because you don't know when somebody's maybe on the cusp of putting out a job posting and you are ahead of the curve by sending out a broadcast letter. It's just a typical part of a marketing strategy where businesses will often do television commercials, or they'll send out a flyer in the mail. They don't know who's really ready to buy, but just by seeing that, it might trigger the thought. So there's some different levels of experience. Overall, we've got 8 samples of a broadcast letter. We've got 2 entry-level, 3 mid-career, and 3 experienced. And as you scroll down, you can see those different samples. If you want to look at that sample letter, you can click on it and it will make it larger so that you can take a better look, see what's included in there, and then if you want to use it, excuse me, you can click the green box at the top that says use this sample, or if you don't want to use that, you can click the X. Now the next category is cover notes. And we all pretty much know what a cover letter is, but you might not be using it the right way. What you want to do is read the reason over on the side and determine whether or not you're using and including the right information in that cover note. You want to make sure that you're using keywords not only in your resume like we talked about this morning, but you also want to make sure that you're using them in your letters. And a cover note is just a tad different than a cover letter. You might use it if you were going to fax and you're saying, oh my God, who faxes these days? But people still do fax. And you might use it as a cover or the body of your letter in an email when you're sending an email with your resume. Now, follow-up, how many, raise your hand, show of hands with the little man at the top of the screen, how many of you send follow-up letters after you've sent out a resume? We have a growing number of people. It probably took you a little while to find the little man at the top of the screen. So it looks like we've had 2s and 3s and 5s. Maybe not everybody yet has sent out a cover letter. I'm sorry, a follow-up letter. It's something to consider. So if you're looking at a follow-up letter, often you may run into somebody and they'll say, well, we'll have it answered back to you in 3 weeks or a month. You can always send a follow-up letter at that point in time and say, just to let you know, I'm still interested in the position, and if you have any more news or information, I would appreciate hearing it. You can take a look at the samples and find out what are supposed to be included in those items, but you don't want to overburden the people because they're already getting enough paper and inquiries about job postings. Maybe you see somebody at a job fair. You can reference the job fair and use those letters. Maybe you see something about an actual job posting. You can read those items and see what's involved in writing a follow-up to a job posting. If you're looking at networking letters, how many of you, let's do another show of hands with a little man at the top of the screen, how many of you attend networking events? That is something that you may want to consider, and it's something that you can use a networking letter to help broaden your network to help you find a job, and use those familiar letters to tie people to you. It's kind of like LinkedIn, only in a letter format. Reference letters, we all know that we need to have a good reference if we're going to move forward with a job. So we want to make sure that we're asking the right way for a reference. And these are examples of what you might want to say. Referrals. Now those are when you would give out a referral to somebody. They're using that mutual connection, again, to help with those job postings. And of course, the ever-famous thank you letter. You want to send a thank you letter once you've attended an interview, and you want to make sure that you're reiterating some of your keywords and the big points that were covered during your interview. Make sure you take along a pad and paper and pen so that you can take care of some notes during the interview. It's just as important for you to take notes as it is for the interviewer to take notes. And you can include some of those key points back in that thank you letter. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to click on this thank you letter because we know that's probably the most important letter that you can send besides a cover letter. And here we have this sample. So it says, thank you for your valuable time. I'm going to use this sample. So here we have the sample. And in here, we have the header block for your name and address information. We have the information, and once you click in this block, it lets you automatically change the name of the recipient, the organization, and do it in the proper format for the letter. Then once you're done with that information, I'm just going to fill in a couple of quick names. Sam. We're going to go to the next block. We're going to do Smith. And we're going to do XYZ Corporation. And we're going to do 123 Main Street. And we're going to do Chicago. Whoops. I'm going to use my favorite Chicago zip code. And then I'm going to say, if you know the person's name, please always include the name. So then I just changed all of my greeting information. Oh, I'm sorry. This one up here should probably be attention, Mr. Smith. But here we have Dear Mr. Smith, where I can modify that letter. And again, this is just like the resume. We are able to do bold, italic, underline, strike through, bullets, a link. You can pick the color of your text. You can add a table. You can undo or redo. So it gives you all of the WYSIWYG features that you can use in Word, but then it's also included in your resume builder tool for future reference. Okay, then again we have the examples. So if we're looking for examples, you can go into the letter type. So we were doing a thank you letter, and maybe we need to know something for a content paragraph. And what it does is it gives you some samples of content that you might want to include. So I see here, I found company name. So if I add that paragraph, it's been added. I click OK. I close that window. And what it did was it stuck it right in the middle of that sentence that I was working on. So wherever your cursor is where it will put it. So then I might want to finish up my sentence and then go back and take out some of that where I left it off. So now I found where you would take these brackets and say XYZ Corporation to be an exciting place to work. I am certain that my qualifications are above and beyond those that you seek. And it gives you the brackets of what you want to do. And so this position may have been a management trainee at your company. I can assure you that I will quickly become a valuable asset. And so it's already included that sentence, so if it's a repeat, just delete. Then you can always add more information. So if I decide that I want to say just a reminder about my skills, I can insert a table and put those words in there. So I do a word, and I can also make those be bullets. So I hit save, and there you've got a letter. Now, same thing with before. As you go through, everything saves. As you exit a section, you can change the style of your letter, same as before with maybe I want to make this elegant and I apply it. If I don't like it, I can always go back and change it. I can take a look. I can change the layout of my letter with the margins. I can change the font of my letter. I can change the look of my bullets and what the indent is. I can change the lines, where I want a line or not, and what the spacing is. Remember to keep cover letters to one page and thank you letters to one page if you can, unless they ask you for more information. You can format your header. How do you want the header to lay out? Do you want a pre-style that we've already just talked about? So those are all things that we want to look at when we're sending out our letter. Again, we have the spell check feature, so if it doesn't like the way that something's spelled and your browser window is not catching it, you can do spell check here. Again, the history. We've got letter tips, but you've already looked at the Illinois WorkNet resume guide, so you might not need these letter tips. Letter samples, the video tutorial, some paragraph examples, action verb examples. Oh, and we forgot to mention those two items. We've got the action verbs, where we can add those key action verbs into a sentence if we need to, and the info bites. Now, the info bites are useful on the web page. We added one to the resume. We can also add one to the letter. So one of the things that you might want to use a letter for when we get to the website section is use it as an introductory letter for your personal website. All right. So again, at the top, let me save this section so that I can get back to the screen. Again, at the top, we can rename or clone. So what we can do is we can save this letter, and maybe it's the same key elements that we want to save. We clone it. We rename it as the new business that we want to send it to. We can download things as Microsoft Word compatible, as a PDF, as HTML, or plain text. We can share it, and there's a link here that you can share it by. Then you can always print preview your letter and see what it's going to look like before you actually print it. And here you can also download the letter as well. And then the to-do list is the same as before. You can switch letters. Perhaps you found a misspelled word, so you can switch letters here. So that's it for the letters. I want to move on to the next section so that we don't take up too much of your day. And our next section is a portfolio. We're going to, again, create a new portfolio. And one of the things that you can do here is not all portfolios are by artistic people. Just remember that when we're looking at these portfolios. So I'm going to name this as Ellen, and I'm going to name this as 5. And I'm going to start this portfolio. And here, you've only got 2 chances. You've got templates, or you've got to start from scratch. I'm going to continue with the templates as we recommend with almost all of these sections. And we're going to look at we have different types. An admissions portfolio is for somebody who might be wanting to get into college. Chronological portfolio are things that you want to keep in chronological order, date order. We have a creative portfolio, which I might create. We have a file cabinet portfolio, which lets you keep documents that might be useful. So, for example, you created a spreadsheet or a variety of spreadsheets, then you can upload those and share them. Functional portfolio arranges your skills and abilities arranges by skills and abilities rather than chronological. This is good for somebody who has a lot of experience like me that doesn't necessarily want to tell somebody on my resume exactly how old I am. Professional portfolio is good for maybe somebody who has a lot of business-type documents where you can bundle them all together. And a qualifications portfolio. Oftentimes, somebody may want lists of certifications that you've earned. You can copy all of those certifications and add them to your portfolio. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a creative portfolio. And what this does is it gives you some examples already in here. So then as we're looking at this, you can add and update these items. So if I want to edit, I just click on the part of the tool that I want to edit. First, I have to use this example, though. So then all I have to do is I can add a project, so I can add a different project to my portfolio. So I can have it work by projects, or I can add it by types of projects. So here, if I've done a website, I can add a file to that website, and I'm going to I'm going to actually link to a website. And so what I'm going to do is go to that actual website. Now I happen to do my church's website, so I'm going to go to that website and copy the URL and go back to the website and paste that in there. And then I can describe what this file is. I designed and created the latest version of our church school website. And then if there's any special viewing requirements, you can do that. And then I can save the file. It will show up in my list of, oh, got to put a name in there. It will put the list in there. Same thing with photography. If I want to add some additional images, all I have to do is add those images, and I can add files or edit the project. So if I edit the project, it will give me the information that's already there, and then I can change the words if I need to. Again, it's WYSIWYG items. If you want to add a link into there, so if I wanted to make a live link to my Picasa folder, I could do that. And then all I have to do is update the project. I return to the portfolio. And again, I can add videos, I can add images, I can add audio samples, writing samples. So here's where you would add a Word file, for example. My suggestion to you is don't ever add a Word file to any item unless it is password protected. You might want to just add PDF documents. And nowadays, if you're using Office 365, most of those tools will give you the ability to automatically save something as a PDF. Again, you can add a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, for example. So saving, creating, and doing a portfolio is really great. You can save this as a zip file because most of the time when you're saving images and large documents, it gets pretty big space-wise, and there might be some restrictions for somebody to access. You know, you don't want to email a big link because they might have restrictions, and then the email might get stuck in the filters, so never get through to the person. You can rename it, you can delete it, you can save it as a zip file, you can share it. Again, it gives you a link to share that item. You have a to-do list, you can switch between portfolios. So this is a great tool. Maybe if you are a welder. I know welders need to submit pictures for the welds that they do to the certifying body. So you could create a portfolio and just share that portfolio. So that's our portfolios and our letters. Who has a question about the Resume Builder tool about letters or portfolios? We're happy to answer those questions for you now. Okay, we did have, can these letters be signed online or accept a signature? Chelsea answered that said they provide your typed in name as a signature, but not anything like a verified signature. What you could potentially do is, oh, Chelsea just said it, download it and then re-upload it, but then you can't make the change. We do have a question about a portfolio. I don't really have one that's totally complete, but I will make a sample of one and we'll put a link on our page as a resource so that somebody can look at that down the road. All right. Do we have any other questions that we need answered about letters or portfolios? If not, we're going to go to our closing screen and ask that you complete these questions for us so that we can know how we're doing for you. And I want to thank you for your time and attention today. And again, as always, if you have any questions and would like some assistance about Illinois WorkNet, you can send an email to info@illinoisworknet.com. And Mirage, you're off topic. The next webinars are at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. And Chelsea, have you got the time for the Thursday one? Let me look real quick in my calendar.
1 second. I have it right in front of me.
11 a.m. on Thursday, 10 a.m.
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
And I'm about to put that link in the chat pod right now for anyone who has not yet registered, so you can access that right here.
Okay, great, great. If you haven't registered already, Chelsea, just put that in there. And all right, and I see someone else typing. We'll check to see if it's something about the resume builder tool. Great, all right, thank you. Thank you, Christine. I'm going to end the recording now. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you tomorrow and Thursday, hopefully. And if you happen to have to miss one of those webinars, we are recording them. We do have all of these recordings on our YouTube channel and accessible through our resume guide tool. Thanks and have a great rest of your day.